Is that correct, Scott Brown?
Yeah, it was New Zealand, Cook, Niue, and Samoa, and I had our interest in Antarctica as well, so it was a pretty cool gig.
Yeah, that sounds like a pretty good gig. Well, welcome to the show. Thanks so much for coming on. I do appreciate it. We just had an off the air really good conversation, and it's kind of nice because the both of us being from the same area of the country, I think we got that same mentality of some things, and we're just talking about how much of a disaster the country has really become. And you've got a new op-ed out talking about life under Joe Biden, and you started off with that notorious question: are you better off now than you were 4 years ago? And let's talk about the economy and what life is like right now under Joe Biden. What are some of your thoughts?
Well, that's the question. I mean, really, if President Biden just addressed the border and there were no issues there, he closed it and kept everything in place, quite frankly, I think he'd be the runaway right now. But he hasn't. He's done everything opposite. The second he got into office, he reversed everything that President Trump did, which was working very well. Obviously, the border, inflation, the out-of-control spending, a lot of the things that we see. And what people are saying is like, listen, and you see it in the polling, 78% don't want either one of them. They don't want him to run again. They don't. But then when they actually look back and say, 4 years ago, or almost 4 years ago, I was paying $1.80 for gas. The border was secured. My drugs were lower in terms of getting costs. There was no fentanyl streaming through as much as it is now. Our standing around the world, with China and other bad actors or competitors was much better. Oh, we weren't in wars. Oh my goodness, my kids weren't living at home. So, and then they look at what's happening here with Biden just giving away everything. The new tranche of $7 billion for people who basically on their school loans, the border, obviously inflation, gas, food, you name it. And that's really what it comes down to. It's going to be about immigration and the economy, i.e. inflation, et cetera, et cetera. And obviously, on the other side, the Democrats are relying on the thing they always do, which is the abortion issue, to counter that.
Yeah, and that's one of those things where I keep saying that that's a deadly pill for the Republican Party to go down, and they need to they kind of need to back what it was that Donald Trump said the other day when it's like, hey, we need to bend down to the will of the people and let the states decide, and that seemed to have been a thing that he got some pretty horrible reactions on. But but
listen, can I? Sorry to interrupt. Can I just add something to that? I mean, bottom line is Republicans tried for 50 years to reverse Roe v. Wade, right?
Right.
To make sure it wasn't a federalized issue and to get it back to the states. Well, they didn't have a plan when it came back to the states. So now you have situations like in Arizona, or a Civil War case that's coming up that people are pushing for and say, oh, yeah, that's the law. So had they had a plan in place, they could have addressed it. I believe in states' rights. I believe it should go to the states because that's what we fought for 50 years to have happen. And your elected officials should be able to address these things with the citizens because, as you know, New York is not like Texas, Arizona, et cetera. And I absolutely think that it's abhorrent for people to abort a baby the day of or past the day of birth. It's criminal. It's abhorrent. But the states' rights issues are something that we respect in our government.
Yeah, it's something we definitely need to push a lot more. And one of the things that you and I were talking about a little bit off the air is the quality of the politicians that we have. How much do you think that the quality of our politicians that we have right now currently in office, how much do you think that's contributed to the economic situation and the social situations that we're having in the country right now?
Well, listen, there are some good people up there. You know some, your listeners and viewers know some, but they're the leaders. Like you get the Chuck Schumers of the world, the AOCs, Pelosi, those types. They've been there for so long, or they're so entrenched with the special interests. They don't care about their districts. They care about making money, the corporate interests, their own petty personal interests, and they're not putting our country's interests really in play. I mean, you go to San Diego, L.A., you go to downtown Boston, New York City. I mean, all these amazing cities that are economic engines in our country, and they're dumps. You have people living on the streets. You got literal crap all over the sidewalks, drugs, needles. Crime is out of control. You have people here illegally that shouldn't be here, and spending billions and billions and billions of dollars that should be going to our veterans and our kids and our homeless who are here legitimately. Imagine taking veterans out of housing and putting in illegals. Imagine taking over a hotel that you and your family have run for generations and having it turn into basically a slum hotel. It's out of control, and those people should be ashamed of themselves. And that's why it's so critical that you and your viewers and listeners get involved at the local school board, all selectmen, city council, all the way up the food chain, because we got to take this country back.
Yeah, we absolutely do. And of course, you and I are both fellow New Englanders. You're kind of part-time Floridian and still up that way.
Yep.
So I just want to get some of your feedback of New England politics and how the people are responding to that, because it's such a mixed bag, and I think a lot of people don't understand exactly how politics work up there. I mean, there's gaps that are big, Donald Trump supporters, and others that are not, and we saw the reaction in New Hampshire. What is the feel that is going on up in New England when we start seeing, what's going on in the country socially?
Well, in New Hampshire, it's live free or die. We have a Republican governor, Senate, House, and governor's counselors. The council folks that help run the government, the executive council. And in Massachusetts, everybody is a Democrat, A to Z. All the federal, state offices, you have like 4 out of 40 state senators. And in Vermont, you have a Republican governor, but that's it. So yeah, listen, it's completely, aside from New Hampshire, all Democrat all the time. And for example, in Boston, I find the irony in Black History Month, the mayor / governor of Massachusetts kicked out kids out of a Roxbury Community Center and put in illegals that were there. So now you got the kids being affected by the street crime and fentanyl and drugs and obviously bad actors out there, but you took care of the illegals. They're spending $1 billion on people that are here illegally, and what's suffering is the social services, taking care of the average family who doesn't have $1,000, in emergency funding, and then you get Biden giving away all this money to buy votes, and people aren't stupid. They see what's happening at the pump. They see. Listen, I do grocery shopping, whether it's Market Basket, Aldi's, you name it. I'm all over the place. Know everything. I paid $3.89 for medium eggs the other day. I was paying $1.72 when I got back from New Zealand. $1.82 for gas, and gas is at $4, $5, $6 in California and all the liberal states, and they're out of touch with reality. And I believe that there is going to be a pendulum shift, but it's really up to the people to get out and vote. And you look at those folks that are concerned about the abortion issue. Yes, it's a very personal, important issue for many, many people, but no pun intended, but does that trump the fact that they can't pay their bills? The kids are still living at home. There's crime is rampant. That's the issue.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen the numbers of abortions in the past couple of years have actually declined. And yet we're seeing things like the economy, the price of eggs and gas and everything else keeps going up. And I think most of us are more concerned about that than we are, obviously, abortion. But it seems like that is the pill that the Democrats like to cram down our throats. And they use that as this political weapon, which, the Democrats have done a pretty good job at turning government into a political weapon. What's some of your thoughts on how that has come? I mean, even since you have left the Senate, I mean, it's amazing how we've taken a different direction.
Yeah, it is amazing. I mean, we were problem solvers back then. We tried to just get, if there was an issue, we dealt with it. If it was a veterans issue, we'd work together. If it was obviously a security issue, maybe we just put it aside. Let's get it done. One of the times I was most proud of our government is after 9/11, when everyone was outside holding hands saying, yeah, we're going to deal with this. And we did. We dealt with it. And that's how government's supposed to function. But it usually takes a crisis like that. And I'm concerned with what's going on with obviously Iran. You're hearing all sorts of rumors that they may do a strike, not only in Israel, but then you have people here with it, whether it's China with cyber attacks, Russia, cyber attacks. Those things are real. I know for a fact. I was in the Indo-Pacific. I saw what China did and is doing on a daily basis in that part of the world. They want to become a global superpower, and but they're not playing by the rules. And then here locally, you have people like Lena Khan of the FTC, people understand one thing. They see Biden fumbling and bumbling and falling, and they say, he's no harm. And then they see Harris laughing and stroking and joking and totally clueless. But what's behind the scenes is these unelected, unaccountable bureaucrats who are basically putting in more and more and more regulations and taking away our rights and privileges and making it more and more difficult for businesses to compete. I mean, they're trying to break up Amazon. They're trying to obviously deal with iPhones and Apple and all these other. No, they're too big. Well, what about the community standard rule, which basically says, hey, if we can get low prices from Amazon, Walmart, Kruger, whatever it is, Aldi, why should you care?
Yeah.
We can go other places if we want to pay more, and they're trying to give basically a backdoor to China and other bad actors to hurt our tech industry, which is our number one business at this point.
Yeah, and you bring up a very good point too about the unelected bureaucrats, and obviously Donald Trump has made the comment about when he's reelected that he will go after the deep state and the administrative state. Do you think it's even possible for us to neuter that? Because it's gotten so big and it's almost out of control. Do you think it's even possible for Donald Trump to get in there and really make that big of a change?
Well, it depends who he has around him. I mean, that's why I went for him. I wanted a change maker. That's why I supported him. That's why I worked for him. I was the longest serving ambassador besides Israel by a couple of weeks. And I saw the things that were happening. You saw that the border was secure. You saw that China respected us and Iran and North Korea. You saw that NATO was paying their bills. You look at the clips when he was chiding, Germany and NATO for not doing their fair share. Well, they're pretty darn lucky they did it, because now they have a better, stronger force, and now you have Finland and Sweden coming in. And yes, can he do it? Absolutely. But he's gonna need to get, and people are gonna want to have to go and deal with the BS. To stand up beside him and make sure that he can do his job. Get good people in there who care deeply about our country and not about these special interest groups. I mean, you have a situation like, look at NPR. You don't have one registered Republican, 87-0. They have an agenda, and quite frankly, they should be held accountable.
Yeah, absolutely. So we were talking a little bit about this off the air, about where the good politicians when they're really going to fight. And obviously you worked with Donald Trump in the administration. Would you go back to the administration in a role if you were asked?
Listen, anytime a president of the United States asks for service, I am a patriot. I served 39 years in the military, and I would absolutely serve. And I think it would be an honor, and because he needs good people around him. Every president does. To say, one thing I told him when I signed on is, sir, I'm not rich. I can't give any money, but I'll give you my word. I'll tell you when I think everything's going well, and when I think you maybe want to look at something again. And sometimes that's hard to take. When you're hard charge, and those are tough conversations. But I have it's a pay cut for me. So but I'll do it all over again. Absolutely.
That is awesome. So you are also the chair of the Competitiveness Coalition. What is that coalition all about? Tell us about it.
Well, it's basically pushing back against Congress and their out-of-control actions and the administration on our high-tech industry. As I referenced, you have Lena Khan, who's the head of the FTC, is basically going over to Europe with the EU, trying to find ways to basically tax and thwart our innovation, cut the kneecaps off for our young tech innovators, and basically provide access to bad actors, China, North Korea, other businesses. So imagine you don't have your Google Maps to go pick up your babysitter so you can go out at night, or you can't download your photo apps on your iPhone because it's not allowed because they've broken it all up. They're trying to basically impose their will and say, oh, it's too big, so we're going to break it up. Well, how about look at the consumer standard, which is, am I getting a good cost or good value for my dollar? Are the prices low? Is there competition? Is there this? Is there that? And they're disregarding the norm that has been in effect for forever. And the FTC, which was once a bipartisan, never even heard of them. Now all the Republicans have quit. They're losing lawsuit after lawsuit, trying to push an agenda that is a woke liberal agenda that's hurting our businesses, and it's wrong. And I've been in the coalition, the chairman, for 2 years, and we've had some good success pushing back, but it's not over. People need to know that. And here's one thing that people may not know: if you own a condominium and you have that cable service, that it's a group situation, you don't have to pay $300 a month, or you're in a home or a business. They're trying to do away with that too, so the cable companies can go and get the top dollar instead of having those group share plans. Little things like that just nickel and diming away our rights and monies and privileges, that it just drives me bonkers.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of Americans that are right there with you on that. How can people find out more about the coalition and maybe be able to take part of that and help you guys fight? Because we need
sure.
as we can.
Yeah, you can just go right on X, Twitter, and look up Competitiveness Coalition. You can reach me at Sen Scott Brown, certainly Facebook, Twitter, all those. But more importantly, as we talked about, you can go check out my band, ScottBrown-Diplomats.com. We opened up for Skid Row. I think we're going to be opening up for hopefully Cheap Trick soon. We perform all over New England. I'm trying to get some gigs down in Florida for sure over the winter.
Yeah, well, there you go. That's something that you don't often hear from a U.S. senator, and that he's part of a rock band, and being able to open up for the people that you've opened up for. That is fantastic. Yeah. Former U.S. Senator and Ambassador Scott Brown, you're doing some amazing work, and I hope you keep it up, and hopefully you'll be part of the Trump administration when that takes effect in January, because that's what this country needs, and the world really needs to be able to survive. Thank you for everything that you're doing, and thanks for coming on the show.
God bless you.